North Carolina has an amazing diversity of trees. In fact, there are over 221 species of native trees. How do we begin to make sense of this riot of green over our heads? We observe and we classify. Even our prehistoric ancestors needed to understand classification in order to recognize danger and find food.
Okay, we've come outside now to actually look at the way a forester or botanist might begin to look at leaves and trees in order to classify them. And what we have here is what looks like a total disorganized mess. We don't quite know how to look at different things because we have no way of organizing them. We've separated the twigs from the leaves in 4 examples of the big mess of leaves you saw on the table before in order to begin to identify them. And that's one of the first things you have to do to begin to classify things, is look at their most basic characteristics, try to avoid some of the distracting things. And so we're going to start away. And as you look at these 4 different leaves, you'll see one stands out almost immediately, and that is this one. This one doesn't even have what appear to be leaves. They're needles. This is a needle leaf tree. It's actually a pine, but we're not going to worry about the names today. This needle leaf tree is an evergreen. It's a needle leaf tree, whereas these 3 all have broad, flat leaves. So I'm going to put this one in its own group and put these in their own group.
Now you can see a drawing of what we just did. We divided the leaves into 2 groups, needles and broadleaves.
Okay, now we're down to 3. We've taken out the needle leaf tree and we're down to 3 broadleaves. And as we look at these, how can we tell these apart? They all look pretty different. We're not going to look at things like color because, as we know, many leaves change color in the fall or at different seasons or under different conditions. We're going to look at more permanent characteristics like shape again. So if you look at them, there are 2 leaves here that I see stand out a little bit because their borders are very indented. They have lobes. It's what a botanist calls a lobe. So I'm going to group those together, and I'm going to pull this one over here. This one, because it's leaf margin, except for the little indentation where the stem is, the leaf margin is truly entire. There are no other indentations except right there at the stem.
Here's a drawing for you of what we just did, dividing the leaves into entire leaves and lobed leaves.
So now we're down to 2 leaves. And in looking at these 2 leaves, they look pretty different. So let's talk about what some of the differences are. We can observe some of these differences.
This time we've gone straight to the drawing to look at the leaves. And you can see that we've got leaves with lobes and veins like a hand, which is called palmate, and leaves with lobes and veins like a feather with a middle vein, which is called pinnate.
So you can see that we've been able to now kind of classify these 4 leaves into groups. We've got the needle leaves, the entire leaves, the lobed pinnate leaves, the lobed palmate leaves. So where we're going to find out if our classification, we know there are 221 species. How far can we go with this type of classification beyond 4 different trees? So we're going to pull out some other leaves. Look at this leaf. This is actually not a native species to North Carolina, so it's not one of the 221. It's actually from a papaya plant. Okay, if you look at that, which of these? It's not needle-leafed. It is lobed, it's not entire. They come out like the palm of your hand, the lobes do. So, it's palmate. Let's grab another leaf. This is a leaf of a camellia. And if you look at this leaf, it is actually evergreen, but it's not needle-leaved. Looks pretty entire. I don't really see indentations in those leaves. So I'm going to put it right here.
Now that you understand the basics of classification, here is an assignment. Find 10 different leaves and create your own way to classify them by finding differences and similarities.